Okay, good afternoon. Hello, everyone. My name is Jen. I'm going to be your presenter for today's webinar. Today, we will be talking about a few special transactions or special situations that you may encounter in the donations module. If you're following along in our workbooks, this is going to be in Donations 104 on pages 2 through 5. And if you don't have our workbooks, they are on sale right now through tomorrow. The digital ones are only $5 each. So if you're interested, head out to our website and take a look at those workbooks. And we're going to go ahead and get started. The special transactions we're going to be talking about, or situations we're going to be talking about today, are transferring donations between givers, inactivating donations givers, and gifts from an estate. So this is all taking place today in version 20.17.3. So with all of that said, let's go ahead and dive right in. We're going to open up the donations module. And first we're going to talk about transferring donations. And this is transferring donations between individuals as opposed to transferring donations to accounting, which is a different topic. So to transfer from one giver to another, I'm going to come up here to the top to where it says the word givers. And I'm going to click on that, and it's going to reveal some different buttons that I can choose from. And I'm looking for this transfer donations right here, third to last button. Now, if you're wondering when this might be relevant, a couple of instances might be if you assigned a few donations to the child in the family, but it was supposed to go to the parent. You might want to transfer the donations from the child's record to the parent's record. Another instance might be if you have duplicate records. Sometimes if you add someone to the system as a donations giver as opposed to as a membership individual, you might need to go back and remove that donations individual and transfer their giving. And that's the example I'm going to show you right now. So you'll notice on this screen, the first thing we have is the date range up at the top. If you need to change this date range, you can either type in the dates that you want to see. You would just type the numbers only, not any slashes. So 01012018, for example. You can also use these -YR and +YR buttons to go forward or backward an entire year. And if you're changing the dates by typing, or if I just choose today, you can see there's this apply dates turned red. So I have to click that like this little pop-up says, click to apply after changing your date range. So if I click that, then it'll just go through today. Then moving down the screen, we have from giver on the left and to giver on the right. And this is how we determine who the donations are starting on and who they are ending up on. So in this case, it pulled up the first person because I clicked the down arrow. What I'm going to do is I'm going to type in this box the name of a giver that I have a donations individual record created for. So I've got Penny Morris here with a D. Now we have quite a few donations here for Penny for this year, so the easiest way is to transfer them to our membership record for Penny so that we can get rid of this donations record, assuming that Penny has become a member now. So she's got a record showing up on the to giver side without a letter, without a D or a V, and that indicates that she is a member. But you can see when I choose her name, no giving shows up, which means that all the giving is on this D record for Penny, and we just want to move it to the member record for Penny. Now when we choose the name of the giver, it automatically checks all the boxes for us. If you only wanted to do some, you could uncheck, but we're going to select all and click Transfer Selected. Then we have to confirm and say, yes, we are sure this is what we want to do. And then we get a confirmation that new transactions were created, and they all move over to our membership version of Penny. Now, this leads us directly into our next special situation, which is inactivating givers. Now that we've cleared out all the donations from our Penny Morris, who is a donations giver, we can go ahead and inactivate that version of her so that we don't have duplicates of Penny. To do that, we'll go to Manage Givers, which you can get to from two separate places. You can get there from the center of the screen here or from the top of the screen up here. They're both the same, and you'll find that in many places in Church Windows. You will have multiple places to perform the same task. So we'll go into Manage Givers, and then we will type in Penny. And you can see we have a Penny with number 9, no letter, and Penny with a D. We're going to inactivate Penny with a D using the inactive checkbox over here on the right-hand side of the screen. Now, if I were to choose our member Penny, you can see the inactive is grayed out, and it says below that, edit or delete this record in the membership module. So the only folks that we are able to edit in the donations module are these folks with the Ds and the check mark in donations giver. That is a person who only exists in donations, so they can only be modified in donations, as opposed to a person who has no letter, who's a member, or a person who has a V, who is also edited in the membership module. So all we have to do to inactivate our D version, our donor version of Penny, is check this box. And then when we click Refresh Givers, if I type Penny, this time we only have our single membership version of Penny. Now in this screen, you can choose to view active and inactive folks by checking the box down here at the bottom where it says Display Options. We can show active and we can show inactive. And this again brings us to another point that we're going to talk about real quick, and that is entering donations for an inactive person. Judy wants to know, why wouldn't you just delete the donor version rather than inactivate? Well, in Church Windows, in order to maintain an ironclad audit trail, anyone who has ever made a donation in the entire history of the program is unable to be deleted. So that's why we have to inactivate instead. Okay, so if we wanted to see an inactive person in Enter Donations, let's say today we received a check in the mail from a former member whose name is Joan Lamb, and she's been inactivated because she moved away. So when I type Joan Lamb, nothing comes up because she moved away and we inactivated her. But I can still record a donation for her that we got in the mail. all I have to do is check this box right here that says inactive, right above where we type to search for the name of the giver, right there. So what I'll do is I will check that box, and now when I type Joan Lamb, her name comes up in red, and I can select her and enter the donation just like I would any other donation. And then I could go ahead and post it. So it doesn't matter if a person has been inactivated, you can still always find them again, and you can always add to them. All right. Next, and finally for this webinar today, we're going to talk about a gift from an estate. So, if the church receives a contribution from the estate of a deceased person, this is how we would suggest doing it. We recommend adding the new giver as a donations individual so that they're not in our membership module since it's a deceased person's estate. So we could do that from up here at Givers by clicking Add Individual, or we can click the plus sign in the Enter Donations screen. Like I was saying before, a couple different choices of how to accomplish the same task. I'm going to click the plus sign in Enter Donations for this example. And I'm going to choose Add Donations Individual Giver. 9 times out of 10, you're going to use Membership Individual and add folks as members or visitors. Today, for an estate giver, we're going to choose a Donations Individual Giver. Now, we don't need a number. And in the first name, what we recommend doing is actually spelling out the estate of, let's just say, John Smith. It would help if I could type. All right, so that is how we would enter the name of this person. Then in order for them to be able to receive a statement, we would want to add their address. And we'll just go ahead and allow it to choose the location based on our church's address, and we'll click OK. Then we can click Finished Adding Givers. Now keep in mind with that address, that's going to want to be the address of the person who handles the estate as opposed to the home address of the deceased person. So the person handling the estate should have that address so that they receive the statement. And we're going to save that person. And because we click that plus sign here in Enter Donations, it already populates the giver with this estate that we just created. So let's say we received $1,000 from this estate. We can just go through and enter all the information. And just like always, enter any breakdown and then Done Add to Batch. And then we would post. And you could print if you want to. I'm not going to do that now. All right, that just about covers it. If you guys have any questions, type them into the question panel. It looks like Christine was wondering if a donation from an inactive individual will still show up when running statements. They will. When I click on donation statement, by default, it's going to include inactive folks who gave. So we have only those who gave selected. And then if I come to the Givers tab, you can see in the Include box Donation statements are already set by default to include inactive folks. Christine was also wondering if you have to enter a new record in membership when moving an individual from donations. For the time being, it is not possible to just move the record from donations to membership. You would have to create a separate individual and transfer the giving. However, the developers are working very hard on version 21 as we speak, and they intend to create a feature that will allow you to transfer folks from donations to membership. Now, I don't want to make any promises because this is complicated from a coding standpoint. So that is their goal, to be able to have you transfer. For the time being, however, you would have to create a second version of the person in membership or visitors and then transfer the giving from the donations individual like we did at the beginning of the webinar. So if I go ahead and click next on here on our statements, we'll be able to see Joan, who I posted a donation for. She'll show up on this list. And there she is in red, Miss Joan Lamb. And she must have her receive statement box unchecked. So this example is helpful to see where that checkbox is. This receive statement checkbox right up there at the top determines whether or not someone can receive a statement. So for Joan, I'm going to go ahead and look at my inactive folks and bring her up. And we have the receive statement checked. So if we go back, let me erase my drawing here. I'm going to uncheck print for all and just check Joan, and then we can print a statement for Joan. And there we can see that donation that we just entered for Joan. Even though she's inactive, we can still print that statement. Okay, so we are at our 20-minute mark. If anybody has any further questions, go ahead and type them into that questions panel. I'll stick around for a little bit longer to address any questions that come up. If you have specific questions about your database or topics that were not covered today, you can give us a call. You can go to our website and search for additional webinar topics. Christine asked if visitors are entered in the membership module only. No, you definitely can add a visitor using the membership individual choice. When you click add individual, when you choose membership individual, that refers to a member or a visitor. You have the category drop down here at the top where you determine if your membership individual is a member or a visitor. Okay, thanks again for attending, everyone. I will continue to stick around for a little while longer. A few more questions are coming in. And if you're all set, no questions, you can go ahead and sign out. Thanks again for attending today. Becky, the workbooks for donations are going to be fairly similar to the previous editions. The membership workbooks are going to be the most different because that is where most of the changes occurred in version 20. However, there are some new updates in donations as well that are covered in those workbooks. And on the website, each of the different levels of workbooks will have a list of what topics are covered in that version. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close up the room. Thanks again for attending, everyone. And if you have any final questions, give us a call at 800-533-5227. Thanks, and I hope you have a great rest of your day.